Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm Jonathan Giles, your host as always. On the show this week, we'll be reviewing our 3-1 victory over Vincent Kompany's Burnley. Also on the show, we will have a look back on last Wednesday night's 2-0 Champions League home success over Seville. So sit back and enjoy the show. On the show this week, I'm joined by my regular guests of the show at this stage. I think you'll all know them by now. First of all, Eamonn Donnelly, how are you after last week's tense, thrilling show?
I don't know who that whippersnapper was there. Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Matt. I just finished just taking kidney pie there. 5 Ventos. I was watching Crossroads there, my favourite. No, we're all good. Had a good weekend and yeah, we're just looking forward to having a chat. Good to see you again, Matt, as always.
Yeah, you too, buddy. All good.
I'm also joined by another regular guest to the show this last season and this, Matt Bourne. Welcome to the show. How are you, pal?
How are you, sir? Are you well?
I'm back to the bad, pal. Thank you.
Good to be back. I don't know if we can compete with last week now, but we'll give it a go.
Alan Williamson, are you listening? He got a good run for his money. We got good responses. We got one from a London Gooner actually commented on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel. So thanks very much for listening week in, week out.
What did he say?
He said, never bring them lads on again.
Tense and thrilling. VAR hasn't a patch on this show, he said. No, I have to say, no, it was great. It was thanks to Ozzy, and hopefully we'll have him back again. He's working tonight, sadly, but it's great to have you back, Ozzy. And what a show to be back on your first of the season. So I'd like to thank Alan Williamson again for coming on from the Irish Mags Newcastle United Supporters Club. It was great having him on, and it's something different for the show. And we got really good likes and views for that show. So thanks again for everyone for listening. And
who sent Alan on? Specsavers, was it?
He says he missed that nudge in the back from you.
Anyway.
No, it was a really good show. Before I kick on as well, lads, I'd just like to mention the 2 charity events that myself and Martin Stumville are doing for the month of November. Martin Stumville is in the process of manicuring the perfect moustache for Movember for men's health. That's what this is for. Visit movember.ie to donate what you can. For myself, I'm on my own personal challenge. I'm tackling 90k for the month of November for Breakthrough Cancer Research.ie. At the moment, on 51k of 90. I'm doing this for my late uncle who sadly passed away in February from this terrible disease. So donate whatever donations you can, big or small, will help. So Martin will be putting this across the screen once this is edited. So if you can help those 2 charities, super. So we kick on with the show as always. The review of Saturday's game, a 3-1 home success over Burnley. Goals by Trossard, Saliba and Zinchenko, and Brownhill for Burnley. Fabio Vieira got sent off for that lunge on Brownhill. A few key points before I come to Eamonn and Matt. It was Leandro Trossard's goal, was the 1,000 goal at the Emirates Stadium. Mikel Arteta scored the 500 goal, which was against Anderlecht. It was about 10 or 12 years ago now. As I said just a few seconds ago, Fabio Vieira was sent off for the high sort of tackle on Brownhill. He's not a dirty player, and to be honest, probably a yellow, but the straight red was a bit of a shocker. But he's not a dirty player, Vieira, and he'll learn from this. In terms of other notes, Bukayo Saka. Effort late enough in the first half was well saved by James Trafford. I thought James Trafford had a great game and goal for Burnley. It could have been a lot more than 3, to be honest. The only real key save from David Raya I have myself here is the one from Goodmanson near the end of the first half. He done well to get down, just palm it away. In terms of Burnley, the goal that they scored, Kodioso, I thought pushed fairly hard on Tomiyasu. He was trying to play it out of play, but I thought that was a foul in my opinion. But Burnley kept going and took the goal well, in fairness to them. And then 2 corners by Leandro Trossard led to 2 goals for the Arsenal. One from William Saliba. I thought we done a good job in James Trafford on set pieces to block him off, and Zinchenko took his goal really well, like a scissor kick goal. That was his first goal at the Emirates as well, his first Premier League. In terms of the Premier League position, it leaves us with 12 wins. Sorry, played 12, won 8, drew 3, lost 1, scored 26, conceded 10, and 27 points, 1 point off Manchester City, who lead the Premier League. I'll come to you, Eamonn. What was your take on the match on Saturday?
Well, I was very pleased, and for a number of reasons. One is people are saying, and they're right, we're not as dynamic as we were at the start of the last season, right? But you have to remember, teams hadn't worked us out at the start of the last season, right? We scorched the earth last season at the start of the season. Teams hadn't worked us out. This year, teams have worked us out, right? And what I liked about Saturday was that we've worked out the fact that teams have worked us out. And we knew that you cannot just play, 486 passes. And we tried something different, right? We knew we didn't have Odegaard in the middle of the park to open those lines. So in getting around them, we did what I criticised us for not doing against Newcastle. We got the ball into wide areas quickly. And when we got the ball into wide areas quickly, we didn't always retain possession and keep it inside and keep it moving and keep it moving. We said, we're gonna lump a few crosses into the box here, and ultimately that's what got us the game-breaking goal before halftime. So I was pleased with that. I was also pleased that I know you said that the lad Stafford had a very good game in goals, but he's young. Yeah. And he's not great on crosses at this level yet, and that's not a criticism of the boy, but we targeted that in the same way as I've said that the way Aaron positions himself sometimes at set pieces, and the way he stands, teams have copped it on and they get in his way, and we did that. It was very interesting to hear Arteta say that this year is a bit different because when teams are playing so deep against us, right? Well, we're going to get a lot of corners because of the way the game is going to organically kind of flow. Yeah. And so therefore we have to be effective at set pieces. Now, I know that we have endless amount of corners that don't produce anything, but we're the most successful team from corners in the Premier League at the moment, So that was good. In the second half, it was amazing how much went down the left-hand side. And I think that's down to where Declan is playing. Declan tends to drift to the left anyway to try and he moves the ball quicker. For a right-footed player like Declan, it's easier to move the ball to the left-hand side quickly. And also, when Trossard was playing up front, he tends to drift off to the left. So there was a lot of activity down the left. One of the downsides on that for me was with that lad that you mentioned, I can't remember his name, the guy who had searing pace down the left-hand side.
Olioso.
Yeah, right. It left us a bit open on that side because there was so much activity and traffic on our left that when they switched the ball to the right-hand side, there was quite a lot of gaps. And Tomiyasu acquitted himself very well. I'm not sure I'd 100% agree with you about whether it was a push or not. Some days you might get, but there was no way we were getting a VAR decision this week. Like after the club coming out and rightly so in my opinion, as I stated on the show, and supporting the manager and saying that the standard wasn't up to scratch. You're basically then asking the people who you've said are not up to standard to go and give us a decision. Now, that won't last the whole season, but that was a real up yours from the officials and VAR that decision because it wasn't really looked at in any meaningful way. He did get a shove. Was it enough? I always go back, and I said it on the show last week, to Ben White on the Leicester goalkeeper last year when he just literally put it, oh my God. So, we won the game, so we don't have to spend the show talking about VAR, but that was up yours in wrapping paper from VAR. Was on. I think I can understand why, and hopefully they'll feel they've got a bit of retribution. On the sending off, you're right. Vieira is not a dirty player. He doesn't help to be a dirty player, but he committed a dirty offence, and I'm not sure. I think he wasn't tuned into the game, and he just didn't get it right. But it was a standing off. It was a clear red. I've no doubt about that. And you could see the lad himself when he was going off. He was giving out to himself.
He was, yeah. He's frustrated. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Over. Oh my Jesus, Fabio! You have your minutes. You're getting a run in the team, and then you go and do that. What a plonker! So from that point of view, it was unfortunate. I know David Raya only made he made 2 saves, but the one that he did make was very, very agile to get down the way he did on his left-hand side. It was very, very quick, but it was also very important. You know, at that stage of the game, I think he's been criticised a lot, but he was top class on Saturday. His distribution was top class as well. So you've got to say, okay, if you're going to give out stick when a guy is not doing so well, then when he does well, you've got to kind of say, hats off. The converse of that is I thought Kai Havertz in recent games had been really coming into himself and looking a bit better. He disappointed me on Saturday because he fluffed a header that he should have done better with, having made the run. And then there was a shot that he had that, a guy with some belief would have gone at it with more conviction. It was almost, I'll get me shot off, but I'm really not going at it. And he looks a guy who's short on confidence. There's a player in there. I'm not going to jump on the Kai Havertz bandwagon. There's a player in there, but he had a real opportunity to do something on Saturday. Yeah. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. I watched the Access All Areas video on Arsenal.com, which is always a great watch because it's different angles and stuff. It's 11 minutes. Yeah. And what I loved was as soon as Burnley scored, we had the ball on the halfway line, all geeing each other up, ready to go, while they were still celebrating. I liked that. There was no inquest or nobody looking at anybody else. So it's very satisfactory from that point of view. As you said yourself, we're 8-3-1, as they would say in American football, without really clicking.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. Just a couple of very quick points before Mark comes in. Leandro Trossard has been the best signing for the price that we got him at in years. Right? The versatility in his game and his game intelligence. And I want to go back to what I now call Black Saturday, when Mudryk signed for Chelsea, and the absolute, pandemonium by Arsenal fans that we hadn't signed. Now, I'm just saying to you, which would you rather? Your team? Right? It was a great piece of business, as was Jorginho. And here's my last point. If you watch Access All Areas, I'd urge any gooner to do it, right, on the Arsenal.com. Watch him when he's coming out of the tunnel for the warm-up. He's geeing up players at the warm-up, right? This guy is going to become a coach, and he's going to become a very good coach. He's actually a coach on the pitch. Okay, he doesn't have the physical strength and pace that we'd all love, but this guy is a serious footballer with a serious football brain. He's with us almost a calendar year now, and he has totally bought into the Arsenal. And he understands. So he was a captain at the weekend, and he was a captain fantastic in my view, and the way he went about his business. So it was very satisfactory. And people think you're going to be swatting away teams like Burnley, but when they come and play with that kind of defensive shield, it's not that easy. It takes work, and we got the work done.
Yeah, it's a good point. Before I come to you, Matt, Jorginho, he got a stud to the head at the very end of the match where he put his head where it hurts, where the boots were flying in. And I thought there was a piece in the Telegraph actually from today where you just said there, Eamon, about him down to be probably a future coach. Arteta loves him in the training as well. You know, he giving instructions to the, you know, he's a real all around, you know, with big experience, obviously being at Chelsea, winning trophies and all, but he seems to be a leader on the pitch and off it as well, which is always great to have around you. Just before I come to Matt, Eamon, Zinchenko's been getting a bit of stick lately for his poor performances. I thought his goal against Burnley was superbly taken. What did you make of his performance on Saturday?
No, he was very good on Saturday.
Yeah.
My criticism of Zinchenko, he's such a good footballer, you see. My criticism is, look, he's never going to be a Kieran Tierney at left back in terms of how he defends. But that's not the way we play.
Yeah.
But my criticism of him coming inside was, particularly against West Ham, he's trying to get on the ball too much. He's getting in everybody's way. But, you know, so yeah. I thought he had an excellent game on Saturday. I'm delighted for him.
Yeah.
Because he's full of the right stuff, that guy, you know.
And especially what's happening in his homeland as well. You know, there's a lot going on in his head as well, you know, and pointing to his wife in the box there when he scored. You know, he's a great, you know, he's an all-around good lad.
He's telling her to sit down.
Sorry?
He was telling her to sit down.
VAR. Can I guess you're man of the match, Eamon?
Trossard was man of the match for me because he was the key that unlocked everything.
Yeah.
You know, it was his movement that created the gaps for them crosses to be slung across. Trossard for me, you know.
Yeah. Good shout, Eamon, yeah. And he had a good game a few days previous against Seville as well, yeah. Matt, you've been sitting on the bench there for a while there tonight. Your take on Saturday's impressive 3-1 victory?
Yeah, I think Eamon read my notes because he pretty much said everything I had written down. Literally everything. Like, possibly to the T. But anyway, yeah, listen, very good performance. Totally dominated the game. But yeah, like you say, you're not going to beat these teams. Not just going to roll over. You can see it. You can see with Luton there for the last couple of games as well. They came up. I still think them three sides who came up will probably go down again. I still think so. But they're always going to make it hard for you. But we totally dominated the game. Eamon mentioned about Kai Havertz. You know, like most Arsenal fans, I think we're all trying to work out what his job is, what his position is, where they're going to get the best out of him. You know, a lot of people are asking, why did we sign him? Why did we waste the money and so on? I do see a player in there, like Eamon said. There is a player in there. He just shows little glimpses that maybe he can. I think what Kai Havertz needs is, I think he needs to score a fucking goal. You know, I really do. I think that will make such a difference to him because he got the penalty a couple of weeks ago, which was kind of let him take it, you know, like a Make-A-Wish Foundation almost, you know, and it was, you know, it was just given to him for that purpose so as he could score and he could maybe get his confidence up and all. But he never looked like, you know, he looks so clueless sometimes. But there is a player there. There is something there that I hope clicks. Like every Arsenal player that ever pulls on the jersey, you want to see them do well. I want to see him do well. So I'm hoping once he gets that first goal, it could kick him into gear. It could, you know, give him the confidence to push on. Again, Trossard, like Eamon said, he was just, what a signing he has been. He has been absolutely fantastic, and not one Arsenal fan will take Mudryk in place of him, you know. No. I'd be very surprised if any of them would, you know, with the way things have gone on that. Vieira's red card, I think it was deserved, and yeah, he totally regretted it. The minute he put his foot up, you could tell he could not believe what he had just done, you know. I didn't get involved in the VAR debate last week, but I have to just a couple of little points on that if I can. Not going to get back into it completely, but you've seen a couple of incidents this week against Burnley. You know, obviously the Tommy Asu incident. I didn't think there was much in it. I don't think you're going to get that decision. You know, but there was an incident in the first half where Saka nudged off the back of a player, and instant whistle, free kick out. Which was less of a push than Gabriel than on Gabriel the previous week. So it's the consistency is the problem. This is not. You just made the points last week about, I think our friend from Newcastle enjoyed it more because he's defending his team. He's delighted he's won the game and all that stuff. But this is not a football. This is not a PGMOL against Arsenal thing per se. Yes, we feel hard done by because we've had some bad decisions against us, but it's the consistency is the problem. It's every week, week in, week out, the same challenge is going on punished in one match and not being punished being punished the next game. It's just that consistency. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I believe VAR is a good thing if it's done properly, but it needs to be done properly. And I said it a few weeks ago to you, Jonathan, on one of the shows that you don't hear, or maybe you do in other countries, you don't hear, oh, there's a terrible decision in the Barcelona game there last night, that VAR gave a penalty and they shouldn't have and all that. You just don't hear it. It's the Premier League, it's the PGMOL, whatever's going on there, I do not know. Whether that's the fact that they're heading off to Saudi Arabia during the week to referee matches and, there's envelopes flying around. You do not know. You just do not know. But there's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong that has to be fixed. But anyway, let's get back to Burnley. I thought Zinchenko was exceptional as well. I thought he got himself around the pitch really well. I suppose that game really suited him. I don't know why he just seemed to get more space, or he seemed to get more of the ball, or that. I mean, I think we had 80% possession at one stage. We were just, running all over them, which is always good to see. We're missing. There's something lacking. I don't suppose you can say there's something lacking. Last season, we just seemed. There seemed to be more fight in us last year. There seemed to be more passion in us last year on the pitch. I still think they haven't hit top gear at all this season. They just haven't. We've gone through the first 12 games and we've never really looked like, whereas we've got a lot of possession in games, we've never really looked like we're going to knock six past the team. We've always had to really, really fight to break teams down. Sheffield United aside, I suppose, right? But we look like we've always had to fight to break them down. We've had all the possession, we've had all the corners, we've had everything else. We weren't able to break them down. But listen, I feel over the next couple of weeks, maybe after this international break, we could start hitting some decent form. If we get some players back from injury, we need to get players fit. We need to keep them fit. I don't know what it is. Thomas Partey, who I think is probably going to leave in January. He seems to be giving out that he's not getting any minutes, and he's injured all the time. You can't get minutes if you're injured. I think it'd be they'd be wise to ship him off if they can get the money for him, because he's missed a year in total of matches for Arsenal since he joined, and that's just not good enough. Even when he first joined, he was injured. And
Thomas part-time.
Yeah, we worked part-time, and that's it. It's just unbelievable. The week before he was injured this time, he was seen kicking a balloon in the air for his baby reveal party. He could get his leg up in the air high enough to kick a balloon, but he couldn't fucking play the next week. So I don't know what's going on with him. I think they'd be well to ship him off. But hopefully after the international break, you might see Jesus coming back. You might see Odegaard coming back. I think Saka.
I think Barry's balloon shop are going to offer us 10 million for him.
You never know. But I think Saka has looked very good the last couple of games as well. Yeah. He had gone off the boil a little bit. Saka never goes off the boil per se. He takes a knock. He seems to take a knock every game and comes back the next game anyway. So he's that kind of player. I said it in the previous podcast. Who's going to come in to back up Saka, because he never gets fucking injured. Yeah. And they're not going to sign a player for 60 million to back up Saka because he'll be gone. There's not a fucking chance he's going to get injured. But it's great to see him. He's got a little bit of form back. I think he's missing Odegaard too as well. But Odegaard had gone a little bit off the boil himself as well prior to his injury. So hopefully he'll come back stronger. Very satisfying results. And I'm going to give my man of the match to Zinchenko. It was very close with Trossard, by the way, but I think Zinchenko just pipped it for me.
Yeah,
Jonathan, could I just make one point on what Matt said? It's kind of complementary to a point I made earlier. I think the team is playing with every bit as much passion and fight.
Yeah.
But we're playing against different style of opposition. And the point I'm making is that last year we went on this tornado where we were ripping teams apart. They hadn't worked us out.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Well,
worked us out now, and they're making us play at what, to the observer, looks like a slower pace because they're sitting much deeper.
Yeah.
What pleased me most about Saturday was that we worked out the fact that they had us worked out.
Right.
And we tried different things, you know.
And do you know what, Eamonn? I said this after the first few games of the season when Odegaard and Saka, whereas last season they were knocking the ball around between themselves, they were interchanging, they were doing all this, and this season they weren't allowed to do it. And you know, people worked out how they operated, so it made them look like they weren't playing as well. They were still trying to do the same things that they were getting away with last year, but teams have copped them on now, and they've thrown 3 men on Saka, and you know, they've really piled up that side of the pitch when Odegaard and Saka are in possession or whatever else, you know. So yes, you're dead right. Teams have, and yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't feel we've hit that top form yet.
We haven't hit the top form.
Yeah,
I don't think it's down to lack of fight. Is the point I'm making? I think it's down to the fact that structurally teams are doing different things against us. So we've got to do different things. And what I was trying to say last week on the show was that, you know, when you're facing that kind of thing, it's impossible for the team to double team both your wingers if you move the ball quickly from one side to the other.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Against Newcastle, we didn't do that. Against Burnley, we did. Martinelli had loads of joy down the left in the first half.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Martinelli, you pick up Martinelli there, and I had a note written on him there. Martinelli is an exceptional footballer, but his final ball is, you know, he'll do a lot of hard work, and then final ball will be fluffed. You know, he does so much work. He's a supremely talented footballer, and he could be absolutely one of the best in the world, but he's missing something from that final part of his game. You know, he could be cutting inside and scoring lots of goals, or he could be, you know, getting past 2 or 3 defenders and getting to the byline, like that little flick over the defender the other day. Or was that on Saturday, or was that?
That was the Seville game.
You know, the little flick over the defender on the line and all this. All that's beautiful to watch. But if there's no result at the end of it, if you're going to pass the ball over and miss every player that's in the middle, you know, I think he needs to improve some parts of his game. But he absolutely could be a world beater. But there's just that little something missing there, and I hope he finds whatever that is. You know,
it's funny you should say that, because I remember very early in his Arsenal career, Thierry Henry was something similar. You knew there was absolute worldliness in him. But the final ball, or the final, it's not just about the execution of the final ball. It's the decision you make in your head.
Yeah.
In a split second. And you all know what happened after that with Thierry.
Yeah. But do you think he should consider moving Martinelli inside?
No, I think that's a good position for, because Thierry was never an inside player anyway. Yeah. He always played from the center of the box, but always arced out to that left hand side, you know.
Just how you mentioned Thierry Henry, Eamonn, in a couple of days' time on November the 16th to be the 24th anniversary when he done that solo run against Spurs at Highbury and done the slide in front of the fans.
I was there.
Yeah, what a moment. I think it was Stephen Kerr he made a fool of, the Spurs fullback. Yeah. I think it might have been Casey Keller in goal that day for Spurs.
He wasn't the first person to make a fool of Stephen Kerr, let's be honest.
It was what a solo run though. Yeah, it does have the Arsenal calendar that you get every year, and that's one of them, you know, November the 16th. It's hard to believe it's 21 years ago though. It was a 1,000 goal for Leandro Trossard, as I said earlier on, lads. It was a 1,000 goal at the Emirates Stadium. I know the guy used to pick. I know there's been a lot of them at the Emirates Stadium, but I know they come to you, Eamonn. Your favourite goal of them 1,000 at the Emirates, and there's been a lot.
And you have to name them all from 1 to 1,000 and justify where you give that.
Well, I'm gonna give you 2 favorite goals instead of 1, because I've got to pick. I'm not saying they're the best goals, right? But the ones that gave me the most joy because I happened to be there was when Danny Welbeck scored against Leicester in the very and that was the league that we could have won. And had we not gone out and lost at home to Swansea a few days later, I think we would have won that league.
Yeah.
But that moment being in the stadium, having been 1-0 down for a lot of that game, the year Leicester won the title, when Welbeck put that in, Ozil on the ball and behind the goal, and you're thinking, right, Mesut, use your wand, give it your best. And he put a beautiful ball in. And Welbeck had just come back from injury. He was only on the pitch a few minutes.
Yeah.
And as he said himself, he looked back at the celebration. He just went, do I really make those faces? So that's what it meant. And the second one is Reece Nelson against Bournemouth. And Matt, you and I were both there. That was just pandemonium. It was just pandemonium. Because of the way the game had transpired, that we've been knocking on the door for so long. They got a goal after 9 seconds, and everybody was going with their popcorn. So what? We'd be all grand. We weren't grand. Then we went 2-0 down, and the comeback was unbelievable. But the Reece Nelson one to me is probably the greatest moment I've had in that stadium.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to say that. Matt,
they didn't count the 7 goals you let in the tournament, though, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank God for that. I'm glad that's been erased from the Embers. I think that's down in that hole you have in the stadium, in that time capsule. Yeah, I like the way Eamonn keeps bringing that up every few weeks. P45 again. Matt, there's been a lot of goals at the Emirates, as I said, 1,000 of them. What was your favourite? What was your standout goal at the Emirates?
Yeah, well, not only was Eamonn reading me notes, but also my mind. No, I've got one the same and another one different. For me, and a game I wasn't at, was Thierry Henry's comeback goal that he scored at the Emirates.
Yeah.
Thierry Henry against Leeds.
Yeah.
All right. Now
the celebration as well.
Oh my God. Yeah. That moment, just watching the TV, watching that, and watching his face coming back towards the bench was just one of the I screamed, just with pure joy when that happened. But I gotta say, I never felt anything like I felt when Reece Nelson scored that goal. And we're talking about Reece Nelson here. We're not talking about a fucking superstar. We're talking about 2-0 down to Bournemouth and going back to beat Bournemouth 3-2. There's not a lot to celebrate there, but I never felt that atmosphere. It was like the stadium exploded in that second. I remember talking to Tara, actually. Tara was standing directly in front of me, Eamonn's wife, and I remember just saying to her, because they didn't have the clock up with the time on it, how long was left, and we're like, how long is left, and we're back and forward, and I'm looking around at people, how long is left, and Tara goes, it's over, and then all of a sudden that hit, I've never felt an atmosphere like it, and I genuinely said at the time, it was my favourite moment ever of being at the Emirates. Was the feeling after that goal went in was just amazing. So yeah, that too. But obviously, a special mention to the Jack Wilshere goal.
Against Norwich City.
The team movement, the flicks, Santi Cazorla, Olivier Giroud. That was just beautiful against Norwich City. That was absolutely beautiful. I think that probably would be the fans' vote for the favourite goal at the Emirates, maybe. But there's so many over the years, But like I say, Reece Nelson is forever a hero for me for that goal. I got to say, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. What about yourself, Jonathan?
I have to say, no, there is one, and I'm going to go back there to the start of the Emirates Stadium. I think it was around 07-08, Abu Dhabi versus Derby County. It was a rocket of a strike. I never forget that one. And obviously Reece Nelson for the importance of the goal as well.
Yeah.
I think Thierry Henry's header maybe against United as well to win 2-1 in the last. There's so many.
Yeah.
We've been blessed to have so many great players.
Yeah, I know, and this is it.
Highbury was great. We had many great goals there. But
one of the great. I'm glad you mentioned that Thierry Henry header against United, because we were at the time, the supporters club was down in Kate's Cottage down in Eamonn Street, and we lost to Barcelona the year before in the Champions League final, and Henrik Larsson then had signed for I don't know what it was. Did he sign for United? I think.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And these three randomers came in during the second half and started singing Barcelona, right? And we were all kind of thinking, it's a Sunday afternoon, it's January, chill out, we've all had a Christmas rush, blah blah blah. And when the goal went in, they had to walk by everybody, and everybody just went, do you want to do the walk of shame? The walk of shame. From that point of view, it was great.
I have to say, it was the best thing about that goal as well. There was a great assist from Emmanuel Aboué, sent over the cross from, and he absolutely buried that header. I think that was actually Henry's last season with us before he moved on. I think. Right. And Van Persie scored, and I think he broke his foot during the process of us to make 1-1.
I feel a song coming on, Jonathan. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the buoy. Yeah.
What others would you get that? I tell you, Alan Williamson, you're missing out this week again. A low key affair, this one, I have to say. So we move on, lads, to last Wednesday night's 2-0 home win over Seville. Trossard again. I have to say the assist from Jorginho to see that pass to Saka, who set it up from, it was just incredible. And then, of course, Saka scored a nice one himself, just cutting in on the defender and burying it. It's 9 points from a possible 12 now in our first 4 Champions League fixtures. A win over Lansdowne in a couple of weeks' time and all, but Sale top spot, and the last 16 come for February for us. I thought, as Matt said earlier on there, Martinelli and Saka terrorised the 2 fullbacks of Sevilla, gave them an awful night, and I have to say it was a well-deserved home win. I thought we controlled the game really well, and probably unlucky not to add another 1 or 2. Our remaining fixtures are Lens on November the 29th and PSV Eindhoven a couple of weeks later away. In terms of the match last Wednesday night, Eamon, were you happy enough, obviously, to winning 2-0, but what did you make of the game yourself?
Well, I'll be very quick on this one.
That
game was played on my 58th birthday, so there you go.
Happy belated birthday! Yeah.
Actually, rather than go out drinking, I decided
stayed in drinking.
I stayed in having a small little drink and an Indian takeaway. That's what age does to you.
That's no better way to celebrate.
Yeah, but anyway, look, the game. If you were a Sevilla fan, what would you have felt like? They never laid a glove on us. They never gave it a go at all. It almost seemed as if they have conditioned themselves to say, we get into the Champions League every year, we don't qualify, and then we go and win the Europa League.
And
that's the way they played. They were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. We didn't have to be great, but we controlled the game. You're right. We controlled the game. The spot that Jorginho had to spot that pass and the execution opened up the entire game. It was the game-changing moment,
It was, yeah.
And it was again, Saka and Trossard understand each other. That's obvious, right? And it was a routine performance. Didn't need anything spectacular. It was cohesive and controlled. And in the words of the great Dave O'Leary, get on with it.
Yes, you can't ask for any more. Yeah, 9 points from 4 games. Yeah.
You said that another win. You said that another win. All but guarantees. Another win guarantees top spot. That's it.
I think another win guarantees top spot. I think.
Yeah.
the way it's going now, because PSV, I think
They can only get 11. Both of them can only get 11. Another win gives us 12.
top it over, yeah.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to wrap it up at home, against Lens as well.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice not to have to play Eindhoven, having to do anything.
To do anything, yeah.
In the middle of all that fixture congestion.
Yeah, 100%.
You could put your Carabao Cup team out, and I'm talking about last year's Carabao Cup team. Although even if we did that, there'd be a meltdown on the WhatsApp group. But
Ian and Craig, are you listening?
We should go all out to beat Lons. Given the fact that they turned us over, we should go all out to put manners on the top of the group, and then do not worry about the December fixture. Send out Stella Mariners or something.
Yeah.
Well said, Eamonn. Matt, your take on last Wednesday's victory? It was nice.
Yeah.
It was a hot victory, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Eamonn got the notes again, but yeah.
It's just static reading. It's just incredible.
It was genuinely a walk in the park, and Seville should be ashamed of themselves. They should be. They're competing in the top. We went into that game like we went into the PSV game, the first game, with a Champions League attitude, and knowing that we had to work hard to beat these teams, and we need to fight hard and everything else. We walked over them. We absolutely walked over them. They had one shot on the whole game. No danger whatsoever. It was almost too easy. And you want to go into these games and be competitive and actually feel like you had to really put in a shift to win a game, and look what we did and so on. It was so easy, and it should never be like that. Going back to what you were saying about Lons away, I think the whole occasion beat us that day. The atmosphere in the stadium was phenomenal. The fans were definitely the 12th man for Lons that day, and when they come to the Emirates, we've got to do the same to them. And I think we will comfortably beat Lons when it comes to it, because we should have comfortably beaten them over there. But I think once we get them home, we'll beat them well, I believe.
Matt, we were also playing Man City to follow on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know. But no, you've got to go out and fight in Europe, especially in the Champions League, to get your results. And Sevilla, they're probably happy to tip back down into the Europa League and put on a good show there, because that's what they do. But look, it only matters about us getting through to the next round, winning our group, and maybe getting an easier tie. But it's the Champions League. Into the final 16 of the Champions League, you're going to be a tough game no matter what, So very
win the group and put it to bed till February. That's the argument.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Can't ask for more, and it's exciting times in the Champions League as well, Just a shout out as well to the Arsenal women's team. They were 2-0 down on Sunday against Leicester City to come back in the second half and score 6 to win 6-2. Quite an incredible second half performance, and they're starting to pour now. After a bit of a slow start to the season, I thought they've really, Alessio Russo starting to get an eye for the goal now, starting to bag a few in, and Blackstenius, and the injuries we had, Beth Mead has come back from that ACL as well, so it's a good 11 now, lads, and hopefully a title charge is in the process. And it's been a busy show, so just to kind of...
Jonathan, if any Arsenal fan hasn't watched the highlights of that game, go and watch them and look at the quality of the passes that broke down Leicester.
Incisive passing.
Yeah.
Leicester tried to play a bit of a high line, didn't they? And they got badly cut out.
We scored them at Sunday,
Did you? Yeah. Watch it actually. Just briefly, Eamonn. You watched the match? Did you? What did you make of yourself? It was good. What's the second half?
I watched the extended highlights because I was doing other things at the weekend that I'll talk to you about in a minute.
Look, 6-2 to the Arsenal women's team, onwards and upwards. In terms of Pat Jennings, lad, there was a statue unveiled to him there up the north there. He was unwell the day before. Thankfully, he's back to full health. Your memories of him, lads, briefly in the Arsenal short.
I'll let you take that one first, Eamonn, because I think he slightly precedes me. Being an Arsenal fan, slightly, very, very slightly.
Well, you see, the thing there is, like, I was born in '65, so I started watching football 71, 72, and Pat Jennings was just accepted as, after Gordon Banks, he's the best in the world. He was unbelievable, right? And what I love about the Pat Jennings to Arsenal story is that in 1977, Tottenham decided he was past it at the age of 32. You know? And they decided to bring in another guy who wasn't near his standard, and they fully expected him to sign for Ipswich Town because, you know, he was never going to join us, and Pat was very, very upset by that, even though he's Tottenham true and true, and he is Tottenham true and true. But Pat decided, well, I'm not going to uproot my family. I'm going to go to the Arsenal. Now, you would think that that's a journeyman decision, but he played 370 odd games for us. You know, he's the one guy that does YouTube footage of the testimonial when Arsenal played Tottenham, and he's the one player that's played for both clubs that's absolutely adored at both clubs. He's Tottenham true and true because that was the club he played as a young guy and all of that type of stuff. But he was a great goalkeeper and a great temperament. But what I love is, and this shouldn't be underestimated, when we beat Man United in the cup final in '79, there were 6 guys on the first 11, Mare Island, 3 from the north and 3 from the south. But I loved it. Every time I watched that era back, Pat Rice was the right full for Arsenal. And him and Jennings, they were always killing each other. Yeah. You know, they had a real, I know, Pat Jennings is one of the, he also did an ad, and here's a bit of, if anybody can find this on YouTube, I haven't been able to find it. He did an ad in the '70s for Cookstown sausages on the north.
That's right.
And you know what, Matt? It was a time when we didn't get much to eat in Finglas on a Saturday morning, you know. But you could nearly smell the sausages coming out of the television. It used to be before World of Sport, you know.
If any listeners have a packet of Cookstown sausages,
I'm going to say the catchphrase was, "Get on the scent of the Cookstown sizzle."
You don't get that in any other show, lads. What a keeper, though, and it's great to see him back in health again. You know, it's a bit of a health scare, but another Liam
Brady was up at that unveiling as well, wasn't he? He was. Liam Brady went up for the unveiling.
I saw that, the pictures of him. Yeah, he was very close to him as well. It's a great turnout for him as well, and in his hometown as well. So it's great, isn't it?
Can you imagine the conversation there? Pat says to him, "I always found you as very dynamic." "I am very dynamic, Pat." You know, they were both very monotone. You know,
I have a bestseller out at the moment, Pat, of you. Now, to finish the show, Eamonn, what were you up to, Eamonn? You were going to tell us.
Well, I'm going to say to you, I had a bittersweet experience at the weekend. I went to see my beloved Bohemians in the FAI Cup final. There was a record attendance there of 44,000.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
I was bitterly disappointed with the result. It was a game that Bows left behind. They had the chances to win. But the one thing I wanted to say was, for all the knockers of League of Ireland, it was a first-class game of football, all played on the deck with 2 competitive teams and a wonderful day out. And I was just delighted that it was a brilliant advert for the League of Ireland. The one thing I want to tell the listeners is, I went back to, I was invited by friends, one of whom is the Grim Reaper. As you know, every silver lining has a cloud. And, you know, they're all Pats fans, but they actually invited us in to have a drink with them in a little private room, and it was fantastic. But we got arguing about the decisions, right? And I was adamant that if the Bowles penalty was soft, well, then the one he didn't give on Dylan Connolly should have been a penalty, right? And this is related to VAR now. But we had this great argument. Nobody was too upset about the decisions. The referee made the decision. He called it. We all accepted. And we got arguing about it in the pub. When I looked it back, the referee got both decisions right. It was a penalty. And the other one that I thought might have been wasn't, you know? Yeah. So you'd have to kind of say, I know, I'd love to think VAR is good for the game if they got it right. But it was refreshing to be at a game where we just got on with it, you know?
Yeah. You kind of forget that, don't you? You kind of forget.
It was a cracking effort for the Irish League as well, that cup final. It was a really good Dublin derby, yeah. And really, I have to say, Pat really probably edged it, to be honest, didn't they? They don't really...
They won it. They didn't edge it. They won it.
You know? Up the bows, as Eamonn said.
It was a great game, though, Jonathan. You know?
No, it was. I have to say, it's probably the best... I haven't seen really a bad cup final, you know, like... I think it's staged in a great stadium as well, you know, the players deserve, you know, that setting. You know,
but for anybody who wasn't there, first of all, there's a few things I want to remark on. I don't want to talk about it too much. First of all, things that I noticed: the atmosphere where all the flares going on.
Yeah,
it was like Juventus in the 80s. You know, it was absolutely raucous, like, you know, without being violent.
Yeah.
Secondly, because of the pricing for the tickets, 20 quid no matter where you were, people were able to bring their kids. And thirdly, without getting political, that warmed the cockles of my heart, the number of various foreign nationals that live in Ireland that were decked out in their bow scarves. And I'm sure it was the same up the other end, but from where I was standing, was, to me, was a great commentary on how our society could progress, you know?
Yeah. Here. It's been a busy show, lads, but a good show. I'd just like to end this again with just our charities for November, as I said at the start of the show. Movember.ie to support Martin with that beautiful tash he's growing at the moment for Men's Health in November. And also Breakthrough Cancer Research.ie for the 90k challenge I'm doing at the moment. It's close to my heart this year. So any donations, no matter big or small, is welcome from everyone. I'd like to thank Matt and Eamonn. Thanks for coming on tonight, lads. It's been a good show.
And fair play to us for the charity, but I just want to say one thing about Martin's moustache growing. You know the way you get the itch near the nose. Do you know what that must be? So frustrating, Deirdre.
You've heard it here, Martin. Feel free to shout that out anytime it's getting the itch. As always, you can catch our show on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel. Thanks again to Martin for editing this show. It's superbly done, as always. Without him, to be no podcast. Catch us on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook page. Check out our sister show, Beyond the Last Man, with Martin himself. Check out our sponsors, Bannon Sports Direct and Luke and Housekeeping Services. Thanks for them. Check out our friends at trustarsenal.com. And as always, the River Bar in Dublin City Centre is where we all meet for any game we play over the season. So thanks to Matt and Eamonn for tonight. We'll be back next week for the a mini review of our first 5 games in the league and Champions League and whatever else we can talk about to fill in half an hour or so. But thanks for listening, and until next week, lads, have a good one.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Cheers all. Bye.
Cheers.